So this is round 2 of going live.
We didn't get too far into it.
No,
so we're
that's
good.
true. We just got to the we're cooking with Crisco and realized quickly we weren't cooking with Crisco. Sorry, I shouldn't get her laughing because
Please
she's
don't.
she
It's
just
gonna
got
be
she just got over a bad cold or something that you're.
My kidlets like to give me gifts of germs.
There you go. There you go. Builds the immune system.
It does. It does.
Puts hair on your chest. All the good things, right?
My grandfather used to say that. Oh my gosh. And then as a kid, I'd be like, no.
Yeah, exactly. My dad would say it when he was making cream of wheat.
Oh,
Instead
I
of
love
porridge.
cream of wheat.
I love porridge, but us as kids we hated cream of wheat. We're like, not cream of wheat. And
I mean,
he'd always-
is it one of those like you either had porridge or cream of wheat? There, like in the winter, there really wasn't anything else. 'Cause it kind
Yeah.
of sticks to your belly.
yeah,
Gives
that
you
was.
that good foundation.
And every once in a while, Dad wanted to make cream of wheat, and we'd be like, "Oh, that's gross," and he'd be like, "It puts hair on your on your chest."
And now as an adult, I'm like, okay, cream of wheat's great. Mm-hmm. It's amazing how much, and like, don't get me wrong, like what you eat and do as a child will definitely influence your adulthood.
Yes.
But I find it interesting. So like a lot of my stepdad's pet peeves
Yes.
have now become mine.
Oh, okay, okay,
Like constantly having lights on.
okay.
Because there was a point in time where he was like, if you leave a room, turn off the light.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So his words are inside your mind.
Yep.
And all that good stuff.
And
yeah.
for the most part, it's positive. So that's a good thing.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I mean, I find my mother's words come out of my mouth once in a while. I'm like, oh, would swear that I would never do that. Funny story, because Catherine, my daughter, has my granddaughters, of course, and she's a big one for, explaining to the girls why we can or cannot
Yep.
do something.
And that goes a long way with kids.
It does. However, she said she never wanted to be one of those parents that said, because I said so.
Yep.
But she's like, but sometimes you have to say, because I said so.
We don't have time to explain. You just got to go.
Yeah. Or, you're in the 10th level of explaining the why.
And you're like, that's it. I'm done. We tried this 10 ways. Now it's because mom says so.
Exactly. Sometimes you got to play the parent card and say, because I'm the parent, I'm the adult in this situation. It just needs to be done this way and do it that way for the rest of your life.
No, I definitely was the kid that asked why a lot.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And there were days when my parents were good and did explain it, and there were other days they were like, because I said so.
I questioned a lot too as a kid. I didn't so much ask why, like just a straight out why. I always had
Something with it, like, why do we do this way?
yeah. Or what's the difference between this and this, or one of the big ones was how did dinosaurs and caveman work into the Adam and Eve story?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I remember asking that, and like, and
Because
I always
there's
had these.
depending on who you talk to,
Yeah.
they can't explain it.
Well, yeah, and I always had these essay-like questions for my parents, and even my brothers and sisters when we have a text thread, right?
Yep.
And one of my sisters mentioned it one time at one of our family things, and she's like, "Oh, it's great, when you guys get into the meme wars and la la la, but when Rhonda replies, you got to sit down.
Yep.
You got to have a coffee, because it's going to be a book.
There's
coming
words
at you.
coming at you. Yep. You're going to sit down, you're going to enjoy this, and it's going to be knowledge.
Exactly. And they make fun of me. Like Sheldon has been a word that's been used around me.
So Josh uses that with me with my spot.
Oh,
Because I
okay.
have certain spots where I'm like, you're sitting in my spot.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I'm not so much that way, but just in the general, like, I'll explain why we're cheersing our wines and the reason why we do that, because I actually know the reason, and it's I have so much shit up in my head. It's unbelievable.
I love it. I love it.
And I can't help but share it.
And this is why we have a podcast about tarot, because there's tarot knowledge going around, and we want to share it with you guys.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Well, you even saw me at the conference when they were talking. I was just like at the bit, like, I gotta. I mean, I know I'm supposed to be background, but I have to put my 2 cents in here.
There was a couple of moments where like nobody was really jumping at it, and I was like, do it, you're fine.
Yeah, she was encouraging me, so I did, and there you have it.
Yeah.
And then I got a big applause. So
Yeah,
I
no,
was like, cool.
It was funny because I think it's tomorrow night. Marilyn's doing like a check-in and like
Oh,
how
yeah,
you guys
follow-up thing.
Yeah, follow up and like how are we digesting information, and Tuesdays are horrible for me right now, so
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to listen to the replay.
Yeah, I'll probably be listening to the replay myself. But yeah, awesome that she's doing it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of things that happen on Tuesday.
I know.
And Tuesdays don't work for me.
I mean, I don't know if I'm moving my moon circles to Tuesday or Thursday, so who knows? The moon circles might be moving to Tuesdays.
Yeah.
That's a usually discussed with the people that come.
Okay.
Because they're the ones that are most impacted, so whatever fits into everybody's schedule.
Right.
And I know not everything works for everybody every month. I know when we used to go out to the one in Mallorytown, I would be like, oh, this month I can make it. Next couple of months, not so much.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
it just all depends on how it fits in with your life.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I'm excited. I'm also excited for the new year to do more work with you, like more workshops and stuff. Like
More workshops.
Creating.
Yeah, and I really want to. There was something I had a mind thought about. There's a mind baby. I had
As opposed to an I thought.
or an idea.
Heart thought. Or bladder thought.
Bladder thought. Oh man, I definitely had an idea of mixing a confidence work and Reiki.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know what that means yet.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
You know how you have the ideas and then you're like, I have no idea what it looks like.
Yeah, you got to sit with it
Yeah.
and just kind of like, okay, what am I doing here?
Yeah, because I really think there's a key, because like I know confidence has been a big factor in a lot of my either upbringing and my understanding of things and even the spiritual growth that happens. Mm-hmm. And I know you've mentioned with certain clientele, like with certain clients, that like how they ask their tarot questions has been influenced by their confidence. So I really I want to explore that a little bit more.
Yeah, and all of last week, including at the tarot party, I had a lot of the term imposter syndrome coming up.
Yeah.
And that's usually a confidence thing. And I get it. I've had it myself.
Oh, I still do.
Yeah, me too, right? It's not
there
like
are
I'm
days
sitting
that
here
I'm like,
going,
you want me to what?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. I mean, I've gained my confidence so much more in house cleansings.
Nice.
Right? Because I've had one a week since the beginning of October. Now, the first one in October had been a while since I'd have to do anything of that nature. And, you know, like, you're always nervous walking in because you don't always know what you're walking into.
Yeah, that sounds like my job, my day job.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
What am I walking into?
Yeah, exactly. And I know there, like, last week I had a home cleansing, and there was a week, I think it was just after Thanksgiving, that both homes were like, oh, we just want smudging and cleansing. I'm feeling off. I'm feeling like there's a negative vibe. Mm-hmm. And I found two spirits.
Interesting.
In the one house.
In the one house?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say, like, two spirits in general, and, like, they were
No.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so how would you... Sorry, now I want to go on this deep dive about what you discovered. If it's not, like, confidentiality breaking.
No, I'm not going to name names or anything. Yeah.
With these spirits, like... Obviously, they impacted the occupants of the house, but were they, like, attached to the house in a negative way or a positive way?
Well, one was a little boy.
Okay.
And he was lost.
Okay, so just needed help kind of crossing over.
And it's weird because he told me when I was in the area where he is, that maybe it was like a burial site before.
Maybe.
Because it's not like it's an old house.
Okay.
This particular house. It's not, I mean, it's not, you know, like yesterday's build or anything like that. But
I mean, we don't know what the land was originally made for. Right?
Yeah. I mean, basically every house on the planet is probably sitting on a dead body.
Yep.
At least one, you know, because we probably buried and buried and buried again, you know, kind of thing. And, yeah, the little boy said, I don't want to be here. But what was weird is the woman who was having me do it started saying, I don't, and I wasn't saying what the boy was saying.
Oh, so she was picking up kind of what he was saying.
And she started repeating it. She's like, I don't know why I'm saying I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And I said...
So she's susceptible to actually channeling.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
I mean...
sometimes you do it accidentally, right? Mm-hmm. And and then there was another house where, again, just regular smudging, but I'm like, why is it so cold in this area?
Well, there's a concentration of
Well,
energy.
well, I asked her, like, is there a heat issue? And she's
Yeah.
like, yeah, this room never seems to warm up, And I very quickly realized why. There were two sisters.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that were there, and they were angry. They weren't evil or anything like that, but they were angry because I think what happens sometimes when a spirit gets stuck is they get frustrated.
I mean, we get frustrated when we get stuck.
Yeah, and spirits were human beings at one point. So, and they say this when you get graveyard dirt, like be careful which grave you get it from, because whatever they were like in life is what the graveyard dirt is going to carry.
Oh, that's interesting, because they technically have the breakdown of the essence of the person.
Yes.
Or the essence of the person passes through the dirt as the soul leaves, depending on which way you want to flip that.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. That the
so
earth
if you know
around
the
them-
guy's a murderer that's in this grave, don't take graveyard dirt from that grave.
unless you're,
But it's
hexing
always
somebody.
like it's better to either bring a medium or be a medium and channel whoever that person was, or if you know who that person was and that they were a good person, then you're going to have relatively benign and safe graveyard dirt. But if you accidentally get graveyard dirt from a grave of someone who was mean and ornery and just cruel, or
It's going to have that effect on whatever you use the graveyard dirt. That intention is going to be skewed because of yes. Oh, that's interesting. I want to do like an entire podcast on that.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's very cool. So, like, people think that, humans die and they go off to heaven and they become angels. First of all, angels are their own thing. It's sort of like saying that the human dies and becomes a fish. It's not going to become a fish because you were a human being.
Sorry, I'm now just like the Simpsons episode where, like, I think something downgrades into a fish, or the fish becomes talking and it has 3 eyes. And anyway, I don't know where that...
And also, too, like, when spirits come in, like, when I do mediumship, I'm like, don't expect them to be good all the time. Like, if you had, a great-grandfather, for instance, who was an abuser, he's probably going to still have, like, yes, you do get corrected on the other side. Sometimes you can come back and in a
But it doesn't mean
mediumship
he's going to be
thing-
completely changed. Like, he's still going to be grumpy. If he presented in real life as, or like this life, not real life, as a grumpy, abusive, sour old man, you're not going to get this happy-go-lucky, cheery guy.
Most likely not, because, part of the correction that you receive on the other side is so that you can move on to your next life. So sometimes people come in and I want to talk to my grandfather. And maybe he got his full correction. Maybe he was a great guy and he's moved on to his next life. I can't reach him then because he's not in the spirit world anymore.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying?
That's a whole other, like...
Yeah.
Because I know, so, like, from what I understand, and, like, I am very new to the whole channeling / and I don't do it myself, but, like, in hearing other people channel, there's, like, a period of time when someone passes away that you need to let them, like, get orientated with the spiritual world and, like, where they're sitting. And then there's times where you can talk to them. But then what you're saying now is that if they've been corrected and, like, come to terms with it and are ready to go on to their next life, they're no longer on that spiritual plane. So they're not even able to be not pulled back, but, like, you're not able to channel them.
Yeah, it's the same thing like when we're on this plane, right? So, my father has died and it's like, well, I can't reach my dad by a phone call anymore here.
Okay.
I can maybe touch base with him up there. Let's stay up there. Let's hope everyone goes up there. I'm not a big believer in hell. I'm a big believer in correction.
Yep.
And that we learn through multiple lives. But also, too, yeah, you're right. You can't do it too early because they need to, like you said, orientate themselves and figure out where they are. That's where spirits can get stuck sometimes, right? And also, too, if you hang on too tight to someone you love, and I understand why you want to talk to someone you love and keep their memory alive and all that kind of stuff, but by hanging on too tight in sort of toxic kind of ways that aren't obviously toxic, you feel like you're loving them, you can get a spirit stuck.
Because they're not going to want to move on.
Well, they're not being allowed to.
Oh, okay, because you're actually kind of anchoring them.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're
Yep.
creating an anchor, right? And you know, like a lot of people think that if I'm not still grieving, then I don't love that person.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that because I feel like there is a healthy grieving process that needs to happen.
Oh, of
but
course.
if you stay grieving, you yourself are getting yourself stuck.
Absolutely. You're getting yourself stuck and you run the risk of getting that soul stuck.
Yeah. Okay.
And there is a grieving process, absolutely. And everybody's process is a little bit different. Some take longer. But if you're actively, like I had a lady that came in and she could talk about nothing but her mother.
Oh.
All the time. Oh, well, I'm so sad because my mother died. And I asked her when her mother died. And it was like 20 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
So I get it. Like, especially with a parent, it's a big death. So you're going to always remember them. And you're always going to have that little bit of grief. If you allow time to heal all, as they say, even time can't take away that little bit of grief you're always going to have.
Well, and I feel like that person, especially parental deaths, they had such influence over our lives. We're never going to forget them.
Oh, of course not. And they in this life, as long as they're here, you're always got a little bit of a safety net.
Yep.
Right? And you know, if your parents are decent people, I know there's some out there that, yeah, no, it's not going to happen, but whatever. But what I mean is that it's okay to grieve the person. It's okay. But grieving isn't loving.
Yep.
You know, loving the person and keeping their memory alive is a different thing than grieving. So back to this woman who had lost her mom, and every sentence was something about her dead mother.
Oh, that's interesting.
And I had to kind of shock her out of this, you know, you got to stop talking about your mom and she being the reason why you can't move on and blah, blah, blah. And I said, would you have rathered it the other way around?
Ooh, that's a good shocker.
Yeah, that made her stop.
Well, I mean, and it's also a perspective shift, right? So that hanged man energy and like, don't get yourself stuck and like think of things from a different perspective. It happened.
Yeah.
I really don't like. So I understand the concept of everything happens for a reason. But I think people use it way too loosely.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Way too loosely.
That's not something someone wants to hear when they are in a dire moment of their lives.
Or
they're
a grieving.
or, you
No,
know,
no.
like
I just
a health diagnosis that's, you know, bad.
But I think it can be used positively if applied properly.
Yeah, but it should be brought up by the person.
Yes.
Who's going through
Oh,
stuff.
totally.
You should not be the one going, well, you know, everything happens for a reason, because I just want to slap your face right off.
Yep. There's a
your
lot
head.
of I've met a lot of
It's like, shut up.
parents who have friends that are like, well, everything happens for a reason, and like, you've been given this to carry because you're so strong, and they're like, no,
I'm not strong today.
I don't want it.
Yeah, I don't want to be strong.
And so it's really given me an interesting perspective. But I find it, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you grew up in religion a lot longer than I did, because I only did a brief stint, about 5 years. I find religious people have a tendency to bring that out.
Oh, yeah, that you're only given a cross that you can carry.
Yeah, or like everything happens for a reason, like God
Yeah.
gave this to you for a reason, and where's the lesson in that? And I'm just like, oh, that is not the right thing to say.
No, and yes, there's wisdom in finding the gift, right?
Yep. Oh yeah,
There's a bigger gift in every trial that we're given.
Yep.
And the bigger the trial, the bigger the gift, right? But again, it's not your place as the person who's not going through the trial
to say,
yep. Hey, by the way, I mean, I just had a client today that I was talking to about that, because there's a potential for a very bad health situation.
Oh, sorry
you
to hear
know,
that.
and I'm like, you know, I myself have gone through cancer, so I kind of come to the table with some understanding. And we were talking about how, you know, first of all, don't tell someone who potentially has, like in my case, I was using my situation, not hers. my situation of, two things you don't want. Everything is going to be okay. You don't want to hear that because you don't know everything's going to be okay.
No.
And with my cancer, one of the likelihoods of the end game was death, right? And it's up to me to decide that everything's going to be okay, not don't patronize me and say everything's going to be okay, and don't tell me there's a cure for cancer that they've withheld, that the government, like, there's some conspiracy, or you eat this magic bean.
Who does that?
Oh, I got so many emails when I was diagnosed, and when people found out, I got a lot of emails about here's
Well, I think it's really interesting. So, like, to take it out of like a medical context, there was I actually work with a couple of students right now. So I work with students in general, but I'm talking older students of the program that I actually graduated from. And so, like, that one of them had an incident happen at work. And she was very shaken by it, and I don't know the complete context of the incident. And half of me was like, in my own head, because we are very much helpers, my brain was going, you need resources. But then I'm like, no, I need to listen.
Yeah.
She just needs me to listen right now.
yeah.
So it took me a minute to kind of like shut the helper side of my brain up.
Yeah.
But I also really wanted her to know that, like, you need to advocate for yourself. And if you're not able to do that, please talk to somebody who will advocate for you.
yeah.
Because there are instances where your body, you've gone through something, regardless of what it is. You've gone through something and you're still in shock. So you're not actually responding the way that is the most helpful.
No.
And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing.
No.
Because your body needs time to process, your brain needs time to comprehend.
Yeah.
But I also know that resources are important and key, and sometimes not attainable right away. So you need to jump on that.
Yeah. And people need to kind of, I know people want to help. I get that. But check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yep, check yourself before you wreck yourself. That is the best saying there is. Because it goes to show that you need to make sure that where you're coming from is a place of genuine concern and not your ego.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I was going to say.
I'm sorry.
Are you being, no. I'm glad you said that, because are you being a fixer or a helper? Because if you're a fixer, that's ego. If you're a helper,
Yeah.
that's a more genuine place. But because you were coming from that helper side, you knew to rein it back and know she needs a compassionate witness right now. And that's sometimes what you need to help the person process. And that's the best gift you can sometimes give someone, is that space to breathe. And
Well, and that's it. And like, I've learned probably from inserting myself where places I don't belong, that that's not the best thing you can do in
No.
many situations.
No.
So I feel like people can talk to you till the cows come home, and I've been witness to that too. Is there is somebody I used to know that we would only cross paths when they needed to chat.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, okay, I can listen to you,
yeah.
and I will be that compassionate witness the first 2 times you tell me.
Yes,
But after that,
then their ego's getting in the way and they're rehashing. And that's
Yes.
different than just processing.
yeah. So I'm always very much compassionate witness first. Then how can I help?
Yeah. But you also are ready with that boundary of you're just rehashing.
Yep.
You're re-victimizing yourself. You're re-traumatizing yourself. And not to say it's not a legitimate trauma, but you need to kind of,
I feel like society wears their traumas like a badge.
oh God, yes. That, like, yeah, like a badge of honor. You know, I'm this, I'm that, I'm all these horrible things
And really, you're
that
not.
doesn't allow me to function properly.
These circumstances have happened to you, and you are more than your trauma.
You are more than your trauma. You've survived your trauma.
Yeah.
You have the strength to garner the tools from that trauma and then know how to put them into your life for the best and highest use. And also, perhaps, to be the light for someone else so they know they're not alone.
And I think that's a key piece though too, because I've known people that have gone through some stuff and have not found that light,
Yeah.
and it's really hard to watch, but also you've done everything. Like, I personally did everything I could in that situation and had to step back, and I'm like, you can't continue to pull me into this. I've been that compassion witness. I've been that helper. now it's your turn. Not that I would ever say, like, stop talking to me about it, because,
No,
but at the same time, if you're just going to re-traumatize yourself, I don't want to help you do
it's
that.
like that woman, like I said, who constantly talked about her dead mother.
Yeah.
And, that was her trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And she wasn't allowing herself to move through the grieving process so that she could show true love to her mother. She was re-victimizing herself each time. Like, I can't do this because my mother died. I'm so sad because of this, because my mother died. Everything was because her mother died, right? And then when I shocked her into the perspective of, would you have rather it the other way around?
Yeah.
Because if nature's going in the right path, children grow up knowing, hopefully, we'll have to bury our parents. And I don't mean hopefully, I mean like I don't want, I would not have wanted my parents to have to bury me. Mm-hmm. And I put myself into some pretty stupid situations.
Oh my God, when I think back what I did as a kid, oh my gosh. Yeah. And I did nothing like.
I started at 3 by drinking Javix, so.
Jeez, girl.
I still remember getting my stomach pumped.
Charcoal that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was having none of it. My father said it took like 9 nurses and doctors to hold my 3-year-old self down, because nope, this was not going on. But I still remember the black rubber tube going down, and so.
So I wasn't that bad, but I remember putting myself in some stupid situations and going, why am I here? And I mean, we learn things. We think we're invincible, and we're not.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I really feel like when someone's going through something, that being that compassionate witness is important.
Yes.
And then, but helping them move forward. Whether that's, here's a resource, hey, come chat, but I want to see how you're moving forward with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And recognizing when someone's just re-victimizing themselves or re-traumatizing themselves. Because you're not being a friend by letting them do that. No. Because then they just get stuck there. Mm-hmm. Right?
And getting stuck there, as we've said before, is not helpful. Whether you're on this plane or the astral plane.
Yeah, exactly. And not to say that, if some big traumas are going to stay with you for a long time. Mm-hmm. We might be talking years, we might be talking decades, but at the same time, if you're continuously reaching out, trying, will this method work for me? Will that method work for me? Because these people that come in and go, well, use this or do this, and this will help, And it's like, okay, maybe it'll help this person a lot, and maybe it'll only help this person a little bit.
Well, and that's what I find interesting about psychological studies. A lot of my experience and exposure to psychological therapies have been evidence-based. So whether I've used CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, myself, and then I've also read a ton of studies of how effective it can be, but it's not effective for everybody.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So, like, it's like church shopping almost. You got to kind of find someone that you're willing to talk to that gels with you, because you're not going to gel with everybody. Nope. But also...
And unfortunately, our healthcare system doesn't care about that.
No, and it's really unfortunate that they do, right? Like,
yeah, you get the doctor or psychologist that you get, and that's the only one you get.
And sometimes if you're not comfortable with that person, like, you're not gonna allow yourself to open up, which is a whole other thing in and of itself.
Because I've been in therapy, and there's times where I'm completely shut down. I'm like, fuck you, I'm not talking. Yep. Like, it was back when I was a teenager, so,
Well, I mean, there's an extra sense of rebelliousness.
I opened right up. I laid everything out. Yep. I was like, this time I'm going to do it right. La, 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 here we go. Yep. Here's everything in the vault, so to speak, right? And she looked at me dead in the eye and said, okay, go to Chapters and buy this book.
I hate that.
And I was like, what?
So I know somebody...
And I'm like, so are we talking about this? I just laid the most vulnerable things out here.
And you're saying go to Chapters, buy a book?
Yeah.
I've also had that say. I've also been there. And I've also someone else told me their experience. They laid everything out, and they looked at them and was like, I can't help you. Yeah.
Well, I mean, at least that's an honest answer.
At least it's an honest answer, but it actually shut them down where they didn't receive, like, they didn't try again.
Yeah, I mean, there's a diplomatic way to say that. Yeah. But yeah, I was stunned. I'm like, fuck you, I'm not buying a book.
Well, and I think it's
and she said, come back to me once you've read it.
No, like there's a difference between, so again, my limited 4-year degree here. There's a difference between,
Nevertheless, you have a degree, so.
hey, I think this resource would help you. I want you to start with this chapter.
Yeah.
Read this chapter. We'll discuss it next week. Maybe this is how we can apply it.
But not even some validation. Like, some of the things you've told me are awful. I'm sure you felt horrible. You know, let's do some healing together or whatever it is.
Well, I feel like, so you said that was kind of when you were a teenager too?
No, this was
This was recently? Okay.
It
Sorry.
wasn't when I was in my 30s.
See, I was about to say we've made some strides since then, but maybe we haven't. Oh,
I mean, I was still young at 30, I guess, but
hey, I'll take young at 30.
but nevertheless, that as my adult, like this was me being the adult saying, okay, I'm not going to be the rebel. I'm not going to be the.
I'm gonna actually lay everything out.
Yeah.
Oh man, but I mean, and I'm trying to play devil's advocate and trying to see from both sides because that was how I survived growing up. I'm like, if I can see it from both sides, I can anticipate the next move. So when I'm trying to get in the therapist's head, I'm like, where would that have been useful? Like, go by. Because I've had a therapist say, like, okay, you're experiencing X, Y, and Z, and you say it's because of your anxiety. Whether or not I was diagnosed or not, that's irrelevant. They were like, this book may help you. But at least they were like, go see if this book would help you.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like a go see if this book would help you. It was a workbook that she wanted me to read and answer the questions and then come back and see her once I'd done all the work. And I was like, yeah, no, that's not going to happen.
Well, and I do blame our healthcare system too, because the way, or at least the last time I accessed anything, was you have 6 sessions done by OHIP, and then you're done.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, but that was also during COVID too. So I don't know if
Okay.
that was, or slightly before COVID. Basically, when my brother passed away, I had a moment coupled with a bunch of other stuff. So it wasn't just, but that was kind of like the event that kind of spewed the mountain overflowing.
Yeah. Tip the camel.
Yeah, it tipped the camel over. and so I was like, hey, this is what's going on. And this was with my like GP. And then they were like, well, there's a little bit of a wait list as long as you're not like suicidal, which I wasn't. We can get you on to, because they were connected with a psychologist.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, there was only 6 sessions.
Oh, wow.
And then after that, it was supposed to be. And luckily, it, again, because of my degree, I was like, hey, I'm just having trouble accessing the toolbox. I know
Right.
there's a toolbox there, but
Right.
right now it ain't filled with anything.
Right.
So I was able, through those 6 sessions, to like rebuild that toolbox that I knew I had.
Right.
And add a few more tools in. And I mean, but they were like, well, you really should come back because of, you know, I want to dig deeper into this. And I was like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
I have no money.
So I went down another route and I just trained myself.
Well, and I think that's a lot of what people do, right? Like there's different coping skills, and luckily, like you chose a positive one. Some people don't always choose positive coping skills, and it proves detrimental in other ways.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're all kind of having this, we're spiritual people having this human experience.
Yeah.
And some of those emotions are really intense.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
there's a really good, like tarot has been really good as a self-reflective tool.
Yeah. It is. Yeah.
And
Well, I mean, it's been used in psychology.
oh yeah, totally.
You know, because the images on the cards are supposed to evoke a reaction of some kind. And you know, from taking my course, when I teach tarot, I teach a lot of watch what your client's doing. Are they leaning in? Are they leaning out? Are they smiling? Are they sad? Are they whatever? And watch, because the cool thing about us as humans is our brains can lie all the time. Our bodies, though, are incapable of lying. So when someone's leaning in and really getting excited, that's their truth in that moment, right? If they're leaning back and a little afraid or standoffish, that's their truth as well.
Which I find interesting, because I was actually at a PD recently, a professional development, and because the chair was uncomfortable, I was doing this, which is technically leaned back, standoffish.
Yeah.
But like I was soaking in the stats and stuff and what I was learning. I was like, what in? Like, because I do my day job, and I don't actually get to know about a lot of like the graduation stats or like how the kids feel about this, and they actually take data on that when it comes to the board at the
cool.
board level. So we were learning the last couple cohorts, like, how do you feel about this, and are you a strong reader, how is your math skills? And I'm just like, all of this combination of data. And so half of me wanted to do this but it's so uncomfortable, so I'm like doing this, but I'm like, oh man, there's a whole other level to a lot of this that I don't get to see day to day because
Right.
that's not my job.
Right.
So
right.
that's like beyond my scope.
But then also too, like if you're leaning back and you're doing this because you're uncomfortable physically, but what's your face doing? Because you're obviously trying to concentrate.
Well, and that was it, because like I was trying to pick my jaw off the floor,
Right,
because the
right.
stat was staggering. Just like context of graduation rates in students who have not modified education plans, but like their curriculum delivery is modified.
Okay.
So if you limit the curriculum delivery at a younger grade and keep that going, they'll never potentially reach
the full graduation point?
not the full graduation point, but like if they do, and also so taking a different context.
Okay.
I enjoyed school,
Right.
and I, even when it was hard, overall I still enjoyed school.
Okay.
I have kids even today, like even the littler grades, they're like, why am I here? This is dumb. I don't ever like, just don't enjoy school whatsoever.
Okay.
If you don't switch that on to enjoyment of school in whatever context,
Yeah.
whatever subject matter that they enjoy, the likelihood of them graduating is decreased because
Okay.
they're not passionate about it. There's
Right.
no confidence in there. But if you can
They don't see the reason why.
exactly, so if you can turn that confidence around, they'll essentially buy into why this could be important,
Right.
and it would serve their future better, essentially.
Yeah.
So there was just a ton of like stats to back up what I already knew and how important it was to maintain those like relationships and to ask the kids how they're doing, even if they're the broodiest kid ever and they've like cussed you out the previous day. The next day you're like, hey, how's it going? And they're
Right.
looking at you like, what are you doing? You know, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter, like new day, whatever.
Yeah.
So I found that really interesting, but because the chairs were uncomfortable, I'm doing this.
Right.
But in my head I'm like trying to pick my jaw off the floor because there were some staggering stats, but like it really put into sharp focus the day-to-day relationship that we need to build with the kids,
Right.
and to be that like positivity into their day,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it can make a difference.
And it can make a huge difference, and I love that they're a little more open to different learning styles and things like that. But at the same time, children have to know that not everything's going to be a game or an enjoyable thing. Sometimes you just
Yes.
got to put your nose to the grindstone and get the work done.
No, for sure, but like I've noticed, certain, I'm not playing devil's advocate.
No,
I
no.
agree with that completely. But there's also in the sense that there's the kids that can take that flex in learning,
Of course, yeah. I
and then
mean,
there's the kids that can't.
you work with some children that are, special.
in the lack of a better word, yes.
Yes. And,
No, but
and-
even the ones that I don't necessarily work with, the way their attitudes, and I feel like, and I'm not crapping on the parents, but it does start at home. If you can tell the parents that take the time to reach the kids or
Right.
not,
Right.
and just the attitude that they have towards school.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm going on a tangent. It's
Yes.
fine.
Yes. We haven't even talked about the.
Oh my gosh, how many? Oh, we're almost 40 minutes in.
Yeah.
So if
We're
you
talking about temperance today.
we might put it in the description. Like if you actually want to get to the temperance part, skip to 40 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So temperance is our card of the day today, or what we're talking about this week. This is one of the angel cards. So if you go to my playlists, you'll be able to see that this is one of the angel cards. This is Saint Michael, Archangel Saint Michael. So yeah, he's the guy that threw Lucifer into hell. He's the guy that led the angels, because God gave, the legend or story is, God gave the angels the chance to decide whether they wanted to obey God or not. Because an angel is divinely guided all the time. They'll always do the divine thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so that's why you can have faith in angels and trust in angels, because they'll always guide you in the most divine and best for your higher self way. That's why you can place your trust in them. But they also tell you, if they appear to you, to challenge them. Because even Lucifer can look beautiful when he wants to. His name actually means the most beautiful one.
Yes, because did we get talking about Ouija boards, or was that with somebody else?
I think, yeah, well, we've had a couple of discussions about Ouija boards.
Because there was a, maybe it was TikTok. I follow a couple people on TikTok, some practitioners, and my favorite video from one of them, and it goes back to what you were saying, is challenge. Like, if you think a deity is coming to talk to you, like, ask them questions, do your research. It's going to be over years, not over days.
Right. And don't be afraid to challenge them. Not everything coming at you is for your better good.
For your better good. So, like, keep the barriers up and definitely
Practice
question.
that in a very safe way.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, don't just open the door and say, come on in.
No. You keep those doors shut until you're ready to open them.
Exactly. But in my Gilded Tarot, I love my Temperance card because it's actually a red-headed woman.
Ooh, that's really cool.
Yes. So she's got 2 cups, 1 silver, 1 gold. And from one, she's shooting water out. And then from the other, she's shooting fire out. And the planet behind her is the planet Mars, who is the god of war. And so when this comes through, I always say you are walking into any room with an entourage, you know, so your word is going to carry weight right now. Your actions are going to carry weight. And I always ask, do you know what it means to be tempered? And a lot of people don't. So temperance is, you know, sort of a a different way of saying tempered. So when you temper a sword, it means you put the sword into the hottest part of a blacksmith's furnace and you heat it up to the point of being white hot, kind of, you know, just burning. And then he takes it out and he hammers it. And what that does is it makes the sword stronger. And he does it again and he does it again. And then he quelches it in water. That's why there's water in usually temperance cards, because it's about quelching that hell that you've just come through. Mm-hmm. But now on the other side of it, you're now unbreakable. So it's a great strength card. You know, I love that kind of, because of what you've been through, you are now unbreakable and you can handle much more of what life is going to throw at you. There'll be fewer curveballs because, you know, it's not your first rodeo. You've done this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just like, this might be a no-brainer, but I cracked my head off a wall recently because my chair was too close to the wall.
Uh-oh.
I was trying to get out of reach of some grabby hands.
Oh, okay.
And so now I make sure my chairs aren't close to the wall.
Oh, yeah. Only takes once for that to happen before you're like, oh, I don't want to do that again.
So that was a very simple way of saying you've learned from your experience. I have the Wildwood Tarot, and in the Wildwood Tarot, it's balance. So it's represented, that water and fire is represented by 2 different snakes or dragons. I haven't figured out what they are. And they're wrapped around the heart of the wildwood, which is an oak.
Oh, yeah.
So it's the vitality of nature and the complexity of nature, and also the duality of us in that humanity and nature is vital. The intricate mechanisms that the arteries and the nervous system of the earth are sensitive and complex as any of the living organisms. So I think that's really interesting, and also speaks to that, like, balance and duality of your fire and air.
Well, that
or fire and water.
That's totally, like, he's got, St. Michael here has 1 foot in the water, 1 foot on earth. Mm-hmm. Again, he's doing the cup thing, like in my Gilded Tarot. And it's balanced, but it's balanced from center, because that's where the strength always is in the center. And I love that your Wildwood one has the snakes or dragons, whichever they are, wrapped around an oak tree, which is very solid, right? And you know, the old adage for oak trees is they start from an acorn, they take 300 years to grow, 300 years to live, and then 300 years to die. So there's still an oak tree in the United States that was there when they signed the Declaration of Independence.
Oh my goodness.
Like, they live for like hundreds of years. And they take a long time to grow, but they've got that solidness. If you've ever been around an oak tree, it's not going anywhere. Rarely is it brought down by lightning even,
No. I think I've seen an oak tree struck by lightning and that, like, they were still standing.
Right, yeah. It's like oak trees kind of like to lightning. Fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
You can't break me.
Yeah. Exactly.
Meanwhile, there's like a good hole going through the trunk.
Meanwhile, Maple's like, oh my God, it broke me in half.
I surrender.
But on the Learning Tarot card, it says it's perfecting balance, union of opposites, moderation, purposeful, harmony, tranquility, patience. Patience is always a big one for a lot of people. Alchemy, balance, peace. And the shadow side of it is lack of perspective, excess, impatient, discord, imbalance, self-indulgent.
Ooh.
Yes.
So I know I talk about Lisa Pepez on this channel, and I'm probably going to tag her and give her a timestamp so she doesn't have to, filter through 40 minutes of us chatting. But her book finally came in, and she has tarot with training. Well, this one's called Unlocking the Tarot, Create Your Own Keys. And what I find really interesting and very accessible is she takes every card. So Temperance, her key phrase or keyword for Temperance is moderate.
Nice.
And just everything in moderation, and there's different
including moderation.
Yep. But just the fact that it advises us to look how we can move away from too much and not enough to be beautiful and balanced to the place in between was something that really kind of popped out of my brain.
That's cool.
Yeah, there's a bunch of good stuff in her book, so I just kind of wanted to give her a plug because she's fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. I've been audiobooking it, but I feel like I need to sit with the copy and highlight.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, sometimes I'll audiobook something, and if I really like it, then I'll buy the actual book and be like,
it's the trophies. You got to get the trophies. You read or you listen to the audiobook, and then you get the physical copy. You just sit in the bookshelf.
Exactly. So in my fairy tale book, it's the Guardian Angel is the card for Temperance. Very fitting since it is one of the angel cards. Now it is Saint Michael the Archangel, who is not a guardian angel. Guardian angels are their own thing. They all have their hierarchy, right? But it says in ancient myth, angels are said to be the very breath of God, the messengers of love, light, and wisdom. All human beings are blessed with angelic helpers and guides who nurture them and protect them along the way. They are the bridges to the heavenly worlds, and they wrap their love around us and remind us that we are not without the guidance and protection of the spiritual world. In fairy tales and fables, the helpful guardian angel may be depicted as a fairy or an elf, wizards. Yeah, we always joked that my grandfather, who was straight off the boat from Ireland, his guardian angel was a leprechaun. We always joked about
that.
I love it. So when you're feeling out of balance, don't be afraid to ask your guardian angel or angels, depending. Some of us have one, some of us have more than one. Some of us need more help than others.
Well, and I find it really interesting, just some of the key art on the original card. Sorry, I need yours because I don't have the original card. I love the duality of but there's also, if you notice, the path. Yeah. And it's almost like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah, right?
Because you've got so the path, sorry, I need more than two hands. So the path is going up here, and you've got this sparkling sun in the background. So there's almost two messages. Because if you find that balance, that path will be shorter, and you will get to where you need to go.
And you won't get lost in the weeds, which is swampy on this other side.
Yeah, so I find that really interesting.
Interesting.
And that's just let's take the angel figure right out of it. But no, it took me forever to realize the elemental, the triangle.
Oh yeah.
So I found that really interesting too.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. And the trick with angels is they can't help you until you ask for it, because they can't interfere with our free will contract. So remember that. Even our guardian angels who love us and want to guide us and send us signs all the time that we do not see.
Guardian angels are upstairs going, crap, they missed that one. Yeah. Let's try again.
They say patience is one of the things with the Temperance card. Well, it's our angels who have the unlimitless patience, apparently, because we are dumb.
Yeah. My husband said sometimes I don't see a good idea until I discover it myself.
Right.
They can tell. My best friend and my husband are like, we can tell you, but you got to discover it yourself, or it
Just
doesn't
got to
exist.
think it's their own idea. It's like, I used to do that with my dog. Just let them think it's their idea.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you're like hiding treats to make sure they go a certain way.
Yeah, exactly.
It's probably what my guardian angels are doing. They're like, crap, she missed another
Yeah,
side.
they're
All right,
giving you
poke a
treats.
few more.
You're like totally missing the cheese.
Oh my God, Bosco would love that. My corgi loves cheese. He's like, he gets carrots as a bedtime snack, but when we're out of carrots, sometimes we break out the cheese, and he's like, oh, it's Christmas. I love this.
Right.
I'll do whatever you want. You've got cheese.
Exactly. Oh, I don't know if I told you this, but I had a friend of mine who had a cat that would cry when she brought out cheese to give to him. And she would only give it to him every once in a while, but he would literally, she brought it out one time when I was there, and he literally had tears. It was
Adorable and very manipulative.
I know, right?
The
I'm
cats
like,
realized, if I cry, she'll give me cheese.
well, no, he only cried when he saw that there was cheese.
Okay.
He didn't
Okay.
cry and then hope for cheese. It was only when cheese was presented to him. But he was so grateful. It brought him to tears. It was just like, oh my God, that's hilarious.
Fusion of ideas. Ooh, merging the inner world and the higher consciousness.
Yeah. Like to me, temperance is very much the mastering of meditation.
Yep.
Because if you talk to any yogi or any kind of master meditator or teacher or mentor or whatever that has practiced the practice, they call it the practice when they talk about meditation, and anyone who's really truly embraced it, nothing phases them.
No.
Like, and students will go to them like, well, what if this happens? What if a guy comes up and raps me on the head or whatever? You send him on his way and wish him well. It's sort of like when Jesus was around and said, turn the other cheek when someone slaps you across the face.
Well, in that...
I mean, his message is very in line with a lot of other, Buddha and,
Well, I think in the English language borrows from a lot of other things.
Yes.
I feel like Christianity is the same thing.
yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
And there's scholarly articles to back that up. I'm not just talking out of my butt.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, exactly. And not to say that it's not legitimate.
Nope.
I mean, if you talk to a Christian mystic, for instance,
Very interesting.
you'll hear the same lessons. All of us who are human on this planet need to learn the lessons of being centered and not taking everything as a personal offense, even when someone physically strikes you. I mean, no, people, if you're centered, you won't be striking people, but at the same time, a lot of it is the control of that emotion of anger.
Well, and I find that really interesting too, because there's kiddos, just to take it in the context of like my work, there's kiddos, so they say anything they want to us, and we can't do anything.
Right.
Because we're the adult and we should know better. And we do. But then when they get talking to each other, they're equally, if not more mean.
Oh,
And they
children can be
wonder,
so mean.
and they wonder why they fly off the handle at each other. They're
Yeah.
like, I don't understand why he's trying to hit me. I just said blah blah blah, and I'm like,
I just said he's gonna die tonight in his sleep because he's such an asshole.
and it's like you called him whatever, you called him something mean,
Yeah.
and you're wondering why he's upset.
Yeah.
And it's like, what if I did that to you? Like, I always do that. I'm like, how would you feel if I did that to you?
Right.
And they're like, I'd get my parents after you. And I'm like,
Yeah.
So there's trying to teach them empathy doesn't always go well.
No, and children often are in their lower chakras,
For
right?
sure. And that's why, like, it takes multiple tries at teaching them a certain skill.
Yeah.
Before
yeah.
they're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, before their heart chakras then ready to go, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't be mean to people, or I should
Yeah.
be more empathetic or
No,
sympathetic
I find
or
it
whatever.
really, oh my gosh, like, especially on the Monday when they're dysregulated, I always,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta remember that. They're always in their lower chakras.
Yeah.
Because, man,
Yes.
it was a Monday today. Anyway, no,
And some people stay in their lower chakras. Like the sign of maturity is moving into your higher chakras. And not that your higher chakras are better, it's just it allows you to develop your voice, your compassion, your grit, all these things, right?
Would it also equate? Sorry, you made me think of something. I'm going to use a bad theory because I don't know how much we use Maslow's hierarchy of needs anymore, but that was what's popping into my brain. So your lower chakras would be that like survival instinct, right? So that
Yeah,
like
basically, yeah.
yeah. So and then you're kind of middle, like you're becoming more self-aware. I forget what the middle one is, but then like you're higher. So like if you're stuck in survival mode, you're not wondering what spiritual path you're going to take.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So like with that, you're like, where's my next meal? Do I have shelter? All of that like base instinct things.
Also too, like, sorry to interrupt.
No.
But you can go into your lower chakras, like especially your root chakra, which is the one that is very much about survival instinct, if you've been traumatized.
No, that makes a lot of sense. For somebody who practices Reiki, I like my brain kind of, how you get stuck in your monkey mind. And
Because it's not just about roof and food, it's about safety.
Yeah, but you've just reacquainted how to deal with some of my kiddos. Because then if I equate it with the chakras, I can be like, oh, that makes sense.
Right.
So like my brain just had a whole situation.
Yeah.
But with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you're not going to like go to college and study philosophy if you're in your base instinct or your lower chakras. Right? Your brain's not in that mindset. Or if you were there and experienced a trauma and you're suddenly back in your lower chakras, that school is not going to be that priority.
No.
Survival is going to be that priority.
Because if you remember my story, I became suicidal for a little while, and I was putting a big red X, and it just was
saying that.
Weird that I picked a red marker, right? Because clearly I need to survive to the next day. And that was the pact I was making with myself is you're not going to die today. You're just going to live for tomorrow. And I would tell myself, you can kill yourself tomorrow. And I did that repeatedly and repeatedly. And then suddenly, like I said in my story, I don't know when it happened. I don't know what the turning point was, but I was able to make plans. But until that point, I couldn't even, like, if someone wanted to go out for coffee or something, I'd be like, fuck you, I can't make that plan. I'm not capable. I'm just right here living. I'm still alive, and that's all I'm doing, right? And I'm just staying alive.
Well, I sometimes forget that, like, not sometimes forget. I'm aware of it because I see it every day. But sometimes I have the privilege of shutting some of the crap I see off because I don't live in my base chakras anymore.
Yeah. I mean, we always kind of live there because we always want a warm meal at the end of the day. We want a nice bed to go to sleep in.
But, like, I know I'm safe right now.
Yeah, but we don't, like, live there.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And so some of the depending on the day, maybe the kiddos had a really busy weekend and didn't get a chance to regulate, and then so they're coming in heightened because they didn't get their chance to regulate, and so they're already up here in the sense of they're not regulated, maybe they haven't ate a lot, slept a lot, whatever, so we're already on that roller coaster of emotions and dysregulation and probably living in our lower chakras for the day.
Yeah, so bring in a lot of blue and green things.
Ooh, okay
Wear
a lot of black so I can just throw their energy back.
But it could be string, it could be food, it could be craft stuff, it could be a blanket.
Well, but I do notice some kiddos that because one kiddo was dysregulated last week, but I'm noticing he was pretty good today.
Okay.
But he also had blueberries for lunch.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So I was like, oh. So like now the whole color
theory.
Bring the
blueberries.
Yeah. So my whole color theory and chakras are now, oh man, it's going to be like reframe how I pack lunch now.
Yeah, right? Who wants broccoli?
Yeah. Broccoli and I don't know.
Key lime.
Those kiwis.
Kiwis. I don't know why I said key lime.
Key lime pie.
Yeah, I was thinking key lime pie. But kiwis, bring kiwis. Cut them in half, give them like little egg cups, Eat it.
No, that's really interesting.
And yeah, it has an effect.
No, it does. And like normally the kiddo, like even some of the kiddos that I noticed home for regulation isn't the best. Their lunches are still pretty good.
Right. Right.
Because I feel like people, like, I'm going to be that parent that's like, you're going to judge me for my lunch. Like, adults judge me for my lunch and, like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm making my own decisions. If I had children, it'd be different because I
You say that until
it happens.
yeah,
And
and
then
then there's that I'm just tossing shit into your bags,
Yeah.
so that you have something to eat.
But there's always going to be those kids that, like, mom definitely homemade that lunch.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then
always
there's
that.
the working parents and the rest of the kids where you're like, yep, your parents work. No judgment here.
Like, you didn't eat the junior chicken you had last night. It's still good, right?
Yep.
Stuff it in the bag. No.
I was jealous. One of the kids had French toast today.
Ooh.
I know. I was like, I
Nice.
want French toast for lunch.
Yeah. Can I have your mom?
Yep. That's no, but it's definitely I'm gonna be a leftover mom. That's definitely me.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. Leftovers are the best.
Oh, you know what I noticed? Both the card decks I used have green backs.
Oh wow, look at that.
So talking about chakras.
Yeah, living in her heart chakra.
living
there.
in my heart chakra.
Yes, yes, that's awesome. And then you pick up? Oh, you picked up the red box.
I picked up the red box, but
But you
initially I had these two in my hand. So I had the
Yeah.
green box and
Yes.
the pink box.
Yes, she was peeking in the mall.
I was, so I'm not allowed to play. But there are some awesome prizes in here.
Yes,
friends.
but I mean, like I said, I switch it up just so that I don't have a chance to influence.
Oh yeah, that's right, right? Because you're
Yeah.
gonna be like unconsciously positive, like you were saying in tarot readings.
Yeah.
The person might be looking at you for a clue.
Yes,
Ooh.
yes, because we did the yes/no spread the last tarot class that we
Yeah.
had, which was last week sometime, and they loved it. But I was trying to like show them like I don't look at the cards when I'm, like you said, getting them back in order, because I don't want to influence
Yes.
in any way. Because if I see the Wheel of Fortune on the bottom, I know where that's going to land, and you know it's so it was a lot of fun playing that.
Ah,
And
we
I
need to
have
do some workshops.
yeah, I have some more tarot games that I would love to play that
Ooh.
sort of they're play, but you learn the tarot at the same time.
So
and-
they're study hacks. That's what you're saying.
Yes, yes, exactly. Because it was a great way for them to kind of get to know the suits, right? Like, because with the yes, no, you don't actually read the cards. You're just seeing, oh, there's a lot of swords, so maybe there's some legal issues, or there's a communication thing. There's a lot of wands. Oh, you need more support. You're not getting what you need from that in order to make it a yes, or whatever it might be, right? So, yeah, it's very interesting. I do have a video on the yes, no, too, by the way, if you want to know how to do it. So,
Yeah, definitely check out the playlists. Definitely click all the buttons. Ring the fairy bell.
yep.
Pop down in the comments if you have any questions or comments on the Temperance. I know we went off on a few tangents.
We started on a tangent.
Yeah,
Just kept going.
I know.
We were way over there for a while.
Definitely. But it's been a Monday. And
It
apparently
has.
we needed to kind of vent out our Mondays.
Yeah.
But we'll try and keep it more on task
Yeah,
next
exactly.
time. We say that every time. Honestly, I think we should split this video up, and like the first however many minutes should just be the next episode of The Other Delights.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, we're going to look into how to do that. I'm sure my son can help me
Yep.
with that technology.
And then when we start talking about Temperance, we're gonna put that in the comments as well. I think it's like
40 minutes
40
in.
minutes in?
You looked and you saw that it was 40 minutes in.
Yeah.
So we'll put a timestamp there and let you know. So,
yep. So we talked about Temperance for about 30 minutes
30 minutes. Okay.
out of our hour.
Okay. All right.
So half and half.
Yeah. I like I said, I'm not good with technology necessarily. I just learned how to get my messages on this new phone.
Yeah, but it's a new phone. It's a learning curve.
It is, and I'm going from iPhone to Android, back to Android.
You're brave.
Yeah. I'm like, well, I'm an Aries. Aries will do anything.
I like comfort. I'm sticking with the Apple.
But you're a Taurus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you are.
Yep. I realize I'm paying for the fancy things. Maybe in the next couple of weeks or two, we need to figure out when we're gonna go see Wicked so we can review it.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
defying gravity.
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll do that too. All right. And if you've seen Wicked, let us know what you thought of it.
Yes. No spoilers though.
Yeah, no spoilers. Just tell us what you thought.
Have
All
a great
right.
night.
Bye. Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.